Hello, it's Maya, and let's talk about career and sort of aligning your career with the path of your soul and how to do that. So today's video is a response to a question from a subscriber named Alexandra, and she said, do you have any advice for sensitive people who know what their passions are but don't know how to take action steps in the physical world in order to make them into a career or life path? So yes, I do. In this video, I want to offer some tips for transitioning from like a regular 3D life to maybe being self-employed, doing your passions. And I also want to share a little bit about my journey and what it was like to do this in hopes that you guys can learn from that. Let's first address just the skills that you needed to succeed doing your passion. Believe it or not, like skills that you might need, like marketing or accounting or website building and stuff like that, that should be the least of your concerns if you're transitioning to doing your passion as full-time work. And the reason why I say that is because those are all things that you can learn. Like you can learn any of those things. Like yes, they're important, but let's say you need to build a website, you don't know how, just YouTube like how to build a website, or use Skillshare or use lynda.com. Like embrace free learning resources and know that you can teach yourself those technical skills. Oh, you guys, I spend so much time and so much energy working towards a professional career. It's really, really funny. And then I never went down that path, really. I poured myself into building a resume, into having a 4.0 GPA in my undergrad and grad school. And, you know, I have a degree in scientific and technical communications. I have a degree in global leadership. I have a master's in nonprofit management. I spent tons of time, tons of education, and I was totally on a path, on a 3D path. And then at the last minute, I let it all go. And I did an about face, a 180-degree turn, and I decided to follow my passion and help people connect with their soul, to be a psychic, the whole thing. And it was, and still is to this day, one of the most terrifying things that I've ever done. It might be scary, you might really have to take a leap of faith, and that's okay. There's all these stories and stuff about like starving artists. The world makes us afraid that we won't be supported if we follow our passion. Now, I believe that we all have special gifts of our soul, and we'll actually all thrive when we do those gifts and use those gifts in our career. We live in a society that doesn't believe that. When I decided that I was going to leave behind that professional path and I was going to try to be a psychic, and one thing that I recommend at first is that when you go in the direction of your passions, do it as a test first. Don't think of it as like, now this life is over and I'm beginning this new life of my passion. Just say, okay, I'm gonna try this and I'm gonna see how it is. That will definitely make it less scary. But even though I had the mindset of just trying it, I literally shook. Like I literally like shook for 2 weeks, and I like cried every single day. I mourned the loss of the life that I could have had and that I would have had. That would have been a very different life, and it would have been a much more secure life in a lot of ways, and I had to mourn that, and you might have to do that too, okay? But at the end of the day, it's like the best decision that I've ever made. I think I'd be dead if I wasn't doing this work of my soul, and that might sound extreme, but like I was very sick, and I was very sick from stress, and yeah, doing my passion every day is what's kept me here. My first tip is you've got to know yourself. Before you do anything to build your business or your career, you need to know yourself, and you need to know if you can really do this. Do you have the skills that it's going to take? Because being self-employed, building a business, it is a challenging thing, and you need to have discipline and fortitude to be able to do it, and creativity and all these things. So before you do anything in the material, know yourself. Are you the type of person who, even though you don't have to go to a job, who's still going to be able to wake up at the same time early in the morning every single day and structure your day and be productive even though you don't have to? Really know yourself before you try to work for yourself. Okay, anticipate what kind of challenges that you might run into. What are you going to do? You've got to think things through first and be ready for anything. And then know, is it time? Is your life in a place where you can take this leap of faith? Is it really the time? And I think that I knew in my life that it was time to make this change, because the path that I was on, it started to feel less and less like my path. Like, it was just to the point where I felt like I was acting in the life that I was in. Like, it gave me no energy anymore. It gave me no passion anymore. I didn't even have interest anymore in that path that I was on. And I really knew when I was at work. I used to work for the Humanities Council for the state of Wyoming, and I was at work. I couldn't do the work. I had been a person who was so passionate about work and always so eager to prove myself to my boss and everything for my entire life. It was ridiculous. I was like the most attentive employee that ever could have been, and I just didn't care anymore. Like, I didn't care. I would get tasks from my boss. I just didn't care. I didn't have interest. And then I knew, okay, this is really over for me. If you know yourself, you know your strengths and weaknesses, and you believe that you can do this, and you know that it's time, the next thing is to create an exit strategy from the life that you have to the one that you want to get to. If you're working full-time right now, I recommend that the first thing that you do is some financial work, some budgeting work, and you budget to what you really need. Because if you're going to become self-employed, you need to know, what do I really need to cover my expenses? If you don't have any expenses, that's great. But if you do, know what you need and downsize where necessary. So if you live in a huge place and your monthly expenses are thousands of dollars per month and you don't know how you're going to make ends meet, I would say the first thing to do is kind of downsize to something more realistic. You want to think about, like, what is if you're doing this for an income, like, what is the minimum amount of money that I need to make in a month to cover my expenses? And make sure it's realistic, and do everything that you can to reduce your expenses before you even think about founding your business or whatever. Make sure that you have this together. Let's say your purpose is to be a life coach, and right now you're an accountant. Test like the life coaching on the weekends or something like that first to see, am I attracting the type of clients I want? Do I really like this work? And that while you're doing that, you make an exit strategy. And I think the best exit strategy is, like, maybe you've decided, right, I'm going to be a life coach, and right now I'm an accountant, and you want to pick a date. This is the date when I'm going to fully transition into doing the life coaching, and maybe pick something that's 6 months out or a year out, and you know in the meantime that you're going to save up money, pick a date in the future and work towards it. And in the meantime, test your craft somehow. Test to start to see how it really feels. Then, and this is all before you actually launch, gather supportive allies to be around you. If your friends that you already have or family, if they're not really supporting you and making this change to do your purpose as your career, then find at least someone who is, because you're going to need people who are going to encourage you if things get hard. And it might be hard in the beginning, like to build something from the ground up can be challenging. You got to put in a lot of energy at first. Gather some supportive allies around you, maybe somebody else who's already doing what you want to do, or other people that are kind of going towards self-employment or who have their own business or things like that. Make sure you know who's going to support you when you make this transition. Then, once you have all that together, once you've downsized and once you've saved up some money, all of this kind of stuff, then that's when you've got to jump in and you've got to pilot your purpose. And this means to test your purpose. And when you get to this point, it's really just about facing your fears, because you might have fears come up. You probably will have the fear of failure come up, and it's about acting in spite of that fear. That is really the best advice that I have, is that you've just got to do it. You've got to say, I'm so scared that I'm going to fail, and I'm just going to do it anyway. And now's the time. I've prepared my life. Now's the time, and I'm going to do it. I recommend that you work part-time. Do something part-time that's kind of close to your purpose, that you kind of love, while you're building up your business. When I made that transition to leave behind a professional career path and become a psychic, I thought to myself, okay, what is something that I can do to earn money while I'm building up this business here as a psychic? Really, I don't even think of my work as a business. Like, I just think of it as just something that I do that sustains me, like something I do to help others. But anyway, I thought, okay, you know what I'm going to do is some jobs that can give me some of the money that I need, so there's not so much pressure on having to make a bunch of money doing readings, I'm gonna do some other things that I really like. There were a few things that I always wanted to do. One of them was to be a nanny. So I got a job as a nanny and I did that part-time, and then I did readings in my time off. And later, this might sound funny to you guys, but I've actually always had like really important jobs. In fact, one thing I've always wanted to do is to work at a coffee shop. Like, I'd always wanted to do that, but I'd never been able to. I got a job at a coffee shop, and it was so fun. So my coffee shop job was paying for like the bare minimum. If I had to, I would have to live on a very strict budget, but like, I am making enough money at this coffee shop to be able to cover my rent, my food, and so it's barely doing it, but it can cover my minimum expenses. And I think that was really important for me because it meant that, technically speaking, I didn't need to make anything doing readings. Like, if I made $0, like, yes, I would be scraping by, but like, I would be okay. Have a part-time job or something that covers at least like 60-70% of what you need to make, if not 100%. After having already downsized, maybe you move in like with a roommate or something, just for when you're getting started, you know, to minimize your expenses. That's what I did, and it was really synergistic for me. I kind of got a lot of inspiration and stuff, like doing the work at the coffee shop, and then I built up my clientele and things like that while I was doing that. And then it got to the point where like naturally my purpose started to grow and grow, and I had to quit my part-time job. But I do recommend having a part-time job at first. And yeah, once you have everything in place, then you've got to just jump in and start doing your purpose, and expect that you probably will be scared when you do it. I had the voice of fear in my head for like the first entire year, I would say at least, of doing my current work. Like, I had that voice that's like, what if you fail? What are you gonna do? What's your backup plan? It was there, but I just acted in spite of it, and I just said, you know what, I believe in success. I believe that if I act from my soul and with the desire to serve, that I will succeed, and I believe in the value of my work. And that's really important. Make sure you believe in the value of what you're offering. Make sure that whatever you're doing and whatever you're charging, that you would be willing to pay that as well. Like, you must believe from the core depths of your being that your work has value before you try to sell it to anybody. So anyway, so like, I believed in my work, and I was afraid, but like, I just did it anyway, and I just worked hard like every single day. And at some point, like, once everything else is in place and you have your financial plan, and what I mean by that is that you know how you're going to manage your money, you've saved up, like whatever, it's just like, just jump in and think of it as a test. Take a test period. You're going to test things for 1 month or 3 months, and know that you may have to change your plan. Like, when you first start, I recommend doing it in a loose way. There are probably a lot of business advisors and stuff that would disagree with me, but I recommend that you don't need to spend a whole bunch of money on marketing or on a website or stuff like that first. Like, just make something that's like kind of okay and test the waters. Try out the work that you want to do. If it's life coaching, try doing coaching for like 2-3 months and see how it goes, and know that like, after you've done it for a couple months, then you can reflect and you can change according to the feedback that you're getting back from like clients and stuff like that. Like, be very, very adaptable. When I first started doing readings, the way I wanted to do them is that I wanted to do them as reports. Like, I wanted to do written reports. I thought it would last longer and people could reference them in the future, and I like writing and all this stuff. So when I first started, I sold reports for my readings. I did that for like 9 months or something like that when I was first starting, and it was okay. People liked them. I reassessed after that time period, and I said, okay, what feels exciting to me now, and like, what will be exciting to my clients? And that's when I decided, okay, I'm gonna upgrade now. Now I'm gonna upgrade. Now I'm gonna make a YouTube channel, and now I'm going to start doing audios, and I'm gonna start offering Skype readings, and I did in-person readings at that time. Like, I added in all this stuff that my clients wanted. And that's when my business like really flourished. So just think of it as like, take the pressure off yourself. Like when you get started, it doesn't need to be that like everything's in place and perfect and that what you're doing is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. Just think of it as a test run. This is my test run. Universe, spirit guides, angels, I'm going to test doing my purpose, and please show me the way forward. Like please help me to see what's going to work, like what might not work, where I can adapt and all this stuff, and that'll be a really good approach. Yeah, just be really realistic. Like, I know that it's kind of boring maybe to talk about financial things, but it's really important. Like, if you're going to switch from doing a secure job in the 3D world to self-employment, like, it is super, super important to have a financial plan, to know exactly how much you need to make, and to not put the pressure of making that full amount on your new business or self-employment like right away. Like, have another source of income or save up money before you start. And if you do that, you won't have so much worry, and you'll be able to just be more in flow and enjoy your craft. But really, guys, if you feel deeply inspired to do your soul's work and you're doing it with the intention to help other people, like you're doing it just from a pure place of wanting to spread joy, wanting to help others, and you feel passionate about it, you will succeed. It's when we get focused on competition and when we get focused on money. Like if you're doing work and it's just sheerly to make money and you're comparing yourself to other people and your ego's really involved and it's about that prestige and stuff, you might not succeed. But if you're doing it because your soul is pushing you to do this and you want to share your gifts with the world, and if you keep your heart centered in that place of service and you're willing to work hard, you know, it might be really hard at the beginning. When I first started doing this, I worked sometimes 70, 80 hours a week for a year or two. Now I'm able to work a lot less. I'm able to work 40 hours or even sometimes a little less than that a week. But you may have to put in a lot of work at the beginning. So just make sure you're ready to do that. If you know that you're like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get this up and started, then you know that it's time. So yeah, guys, like I hope that whoever's watching, I hope that you benefited from this video, and I just wish you great success as you begin your career that's in alignment with your purpose and passion. So thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please feel free to come back any Tuesday or Friday for more videos here on the Maya's Dream channel. So thank you again, and namaste. Bye.